edge of my world, I'm just reaching out for you. I feel your presence in my heart. The cosmic grace play out between us two. Gravity keeps our paths together. A quarter of a million miles and more out at bay. I hope one day we'll be united, away from Earth, across the Milky Way. As I stand at the edge of my world, arms stretched reaching out for you. I feel your presence in my heart. The cosmic grace play out between us two. Gravity keeps our paths together. A quarter of a million miles and more out at bay. I hope one day we'll be united, away from Earth, across the Milky Way.
This is a bleak future, but not necessarily our future. If we act now and remain conscious of the consequences of our actions, we can move towards a future that has both a sustainable Earth and a sustainable Moon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of Give Us Your Pitch and Maybe We'll Do It. Tonight we'll hear a series of rationales or reasons for why we should go to the moon. We're joined tonight by our judges, Mrs. Moon and Mr. Earth. Let's get right to it. Introducing our first contestant, the economic rationale. Come on down.
Yeah. Let's conclude the deal. Let's sign the contract as soon as possible. I'm just in the middle of it.
Excuse me,
so you know.
can we stop?
Just 1 second, sorry. Yeah, go fast. Do it quick. Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Mrs. Moon and Mr. Earth. I'm the economic rationale, and I'll spend just a few minutes of my very precious time because I think it's really important that you understand that the economic investment for going back to the moon and stay is something that we should do right now. You know, today the space economy is worth $350 billion. You know, it's a lot of money. But for going farther, we have to push the space economy beyond the limits of the Earth's orbit and go towards the moon and the cislunar space. And I will give you just 3 simple reasons, but very important. The first one is that on the lunar surface, there are a lot of raw resources for sustainable utilization. We could use the water ice, the rare earth element, and other structural materials for reducing the mass, the risk, but also the cost of future lunar missions. Then lunar resource utilization could foster the growth of new space-related markets. For example, lunar fuel production, lunar refueling services, lunar transportation and lunar tourism. There are just few examples of this new market that could grow if we go back to the moon. And last but not least, this is important for you, Mr. Earth, so please pay attention. If we spend money for going back to the moon, it will impact positively the economic growth and the creation of new employment on Earth. It will bring new terrestrial application spin-offs and knowledge and technology transfer in many different domains. And finally, all the products and the services that are needed for going to the moon, they will stimulate positively the economic activities here on Earth. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I really think that we should spend this money for going back to the moon and stay. Because as I always say, we should spend money to make money. Thank you.
Give it up for the economic rationale. I don't know much about the economy, but with a face like that, I'm investing. Let's see what our judges have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Busy, for coming tonight. I have to be honest, I completely disagree. The thing is, right now, going to the moon is just not the most cost-efficient thing for space agencies and for states. And the payoffs are simply not guaranteed. You shouldn't go.
You're thinking of it the wrong way. We'll have growth, we'll have markets for new lunar resource utilization. The cost of the go to the moon is better now than it ever has been. Plus, the international cooperation required to achieve the economic benefits is also better now than it ever has been. You gotta think of it like that.
No. Here's an example. The recent opportunity cost of the Lunar Gateway could be equivalent to up to 20 different interplanetary missions. 20, it's huge.
No. Enough of that. Returning to the moon could generate a whole set of new opportunities in economies, like a water-based economy, for example. We'll have lunar services, refueling, transportation, tourism, materials manufacturing.
But have you considered that these efforts of constructing a lunar base may redirect resources from pressing issues on Earth? You have something like Sustainable Development Goals, I believe, the UN, yeah? You wrote them, and going to the moon is not going to help, let me finish, is not going to help solve these issues. You should stay on Earth and fix the problems there.
I'm glad you mentioned Sustainable Development Goals. Just you wait until Act 3 when we talk about the lunar sustainability goals. Wink, wink.
Okay, I guess the Earth agrees with this rationale.
All right, well, let's welcome our next contestant, the technological rationale. Come on down.
Hello, I'm the technological rationale. Well, the lunar environment could be harsh, but it will allow us to develop technology for new extraterrestrial environment. The moon will be a stepping stone to further explore our solar system, starting with Mars. We will be able to create and test substances, metal alloys, and also grow crystals in hypogravity. And on all these deployments, the developments, we will be able to apply them for future lunar settlement and also in Earth. If we manage to build a launcher, we will have cheaper space transportation. And thanks to the Apollo missions, we have athletic shoes, fitness equipment, kidney dialysis machines, and also flame-resistant clothing, among others. But that's not all. Since 1976, we have 269 spin-offs in health and science, 173 in transportation, 222 in public safety, 295 in consumer goods, 348 in energy and environment, 264 in information and technology, and 409 in industrial productivity. And that's just the beginning for a better life for humanity. So that's why the technological rationale, should go to the moon. Thank you.
Give it up for the technological rationale. Man, I thought all those spin-offs has my head spinning. Let's go to our judges.
Thank you, technological rationale, for coming. Interesting numbers. The thing is, I disagree once again. Spending resources developing space technology distracts time, money, and human resources from pressing issues on Earth. You should develop technology on Earth to solve issues on Earth.
Whoa. You're forgetting all about technology transfer. Direct technology transfer developed from space technologies will help causes on Earth. I would know, I am the Earth after all.
But the history of space exploration is rooted in the development of high-technology rockets. Rockets. It's a huge potential for weaponization and destruction. A simple object used from space and dropped on Earth could become a mass destruction weapon. It's so dangerous.
Why do you hate humanity? Everything has to be so apocalyptic with you. Think about it like this. Technology innovation could result in spin-offs for health and medicine, transportation, public safety, consumer goods, you name it. Also, funding can be redistributed from areas with less societal impact than space. Plus, regulations can be employed to ensure space innovations are used non-destructively. Think about it like that.
It just always ends up with a war. I'm sorry, I completely disagree with this rationale.
All right, well, let's give a warm welcome to our next contestant, the scientific rationale. Come on down.
Hi, Moon so nice to be here. Earth, also great to be here. I want to tell you about why we should go back to the moon from a scientific standpoint. So the last time we went to the moon and did an in-depth geological study was during the Apollo era. That doesn't make any sense. And all we found out is that there isn't really much that we know about the moon. But the way the moon formed can tell us about how other planets in our solar system formed. So learning more about you will tell us more about you. Also, sending people back to the moon will be great for lunar medicine and lunar biology. We can find out what happens to the human body in hypogravity, what happens to plants. It will be amazing. It'll be a great stepping stone for going to other really cool places like Mars or maybe even further. I can't even imagine. And maybe the last thing is that it's a really great place to do astronomy from. The ample real estate, the 2 week long nights, the vacuum, the radio silence. We can look at the cosmos and how the cosmos themselves were formed. It'd be really, really amazing. So that's why I think the scientific rationale, should get to go back to the moon. Thank you so much for your time. And hi, Mom.
Give it up for the scientific rationale. All right, let's go to our judges.
Thank you, scientific rationale. I'm sure your parents are very proud of you. The thing is, I'm sorry, but I completely disagree. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere to support human life, and there's no evidence of liquid water on the surface. There's a reason for that. The moon was not made for humanity.
Okay. Have you considered that establishing a lunar base will significantly reduce the risk to human visitors? Well, you should care, because we could use hardened robots to complete the majority of scientific missions to reduce that risk. But either way, it doesn't matter. The scientific opportunity to use the moon as an intermediary step before graduating to deep space missions should not go to waste.
The thing is, even when humanity thinks they're prepared to go to outer space, they're just not. The Apollo 11 astronauts had huge problems because of the dust on the lunar surface, and this resulted in overheating of instruments and destruction of scientific instruments. On top of that, it has huge health hazards for the astronauts themselves. So are you really willing to jeopardize, let me finish, to jeopardize the health of humanity just to go on the moon?
All those problems can be overcome. Don't lose the forest for the trees here. The bigger picture, you don't have forests, but it's the same. The bigger picture is that we'll have scientific discoveries in geology, astronomy, biology, and medicine. We'll be able to use the moon as a stepping stone, like I said before, for deep space exploration and a search for extraterrestrial life.
I agree. I agree. Searching for life is currently one of the most important aspects of scientific research for outer space. The thing is, you're not going to find life on the moon. I mean, haven't you guys already said that? Why don't you go straight away to places where the potential for life is, higher? Go to Mars, for example.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah, but there's plenty to discover on Earth as well. You barely understand your own planet. Stay there. Solve your issues. Discover your own planet. I'm sorry, I completely disagree with this rationale.
All right, well, let's welcome our next contestant, the cultural rationale. Come on down.
Buenos días, amigos. Yeah, Luna. Soy el cultural rational. I'm here to convince you that I have to go to the moon. Tres razones. Primero, I would like to inspire current and future generations to accomplish the impossible in all fields. Don't forget that beyond the scientific impact, the Apollo legacy supports the mantra of anything being possible. Segundo, returning to the moon can inspire multitudes of artwork that reinterpret the human relationship with space, such as visual and performance art, film, music, documentaries, science fiction literature. Tercero, have you ever heard about the overview effect? It's the feeling of appreciation belonging to the Earth described by almost all of the astronauts upon seeing the Earth from above as a single entity. The preservation of the moon can inspire the populace to be more careful with the Earth, especially considering the difficulties of living in such a hostile and unprotected lunar environment. And fifth, in regards with the connection between space and religion, returning to the moon can inspire and reinterpret the religious systems due to the expansion of common experience. I'm the cultural rationale, and that's why I have to go to the moon.
Give it up for the cultural rationale. Gracias, mi amigo. Let's go to our judges.
Thank you, cultural rationale. I really appreciated the ukulele. The thing is, I completely disagree. For now, only 5 nations have made it to the moon, and only one of them has sent humans. If these nations were to predominantly settle the lunar surface, they would be able to dictate what's going on up there. They would claim it according to the Outer Space Treaty. And that would be ridiculous because it actually stipulates that the moon is the common heritage of all humankind. Humanity wrote that.
It did, and that's a valid concern. But think of it like this. We'll promote a culture of open access and use the moon for peaceful purposes, like scientific exploration, which was just discussed. We'll create a new ethic around environmental sustainability. We'll produce new art forms and interpretations that could entertain and inspire Earth. Plus, maybe we'll even have international lunar tourism. You'd like that, right?
No, that's doubtful. Currently, space tourists pay exorbitant amounts of money to go to space. It's a privilege. And the thing is, considering the cost-discriminatory nature of space travel, if only one considers the worldwide patterns of wealth, it becomes extremely unlikely that humanity would be represented as a whole by all nationalities. It once again calls into question the concept of the moon belonging to all humankind.
You and your principles. What are you, some kind of lawyer? We can fix all those problems with new policies to ensure that parties interested in lunar exploration are included as partners and stakeholders, and that cultural protection, including cultural heritage sites, and the view of the moon from Earth and vice versa are not disrupted.
Not disrupted, but you're talking about construction and destruction. Large lunar bases will be visible from Earth with binoculars or with a simple telescope. This has also implications for religions and cultures. Everyone has a very personal relationship with the moon, with me.
But you're still missing the bigger picture, and that lunar exploration will provide us with a clean slate on which to reinterpret political and religious systems on Earth and view them in new ways. Don't underestimate humanity. You'll always do that.
I do, because you screwed up the first slate. That's why you need a clean slate.
That was just practice.
No, I'm glad you bring up humanity. No, because the moon also has religious significance for most of humanity. And this calls into question the right of space actors to settle and change this religious site. And it's just not, no. A lunar settlement could also lead to disruptions of historical sites, such as the Apollo landing areas. And eventually, you just start fighting again and abuse power. And no, I completely disagree with the cultural rationale. But I did like the ukulele though.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're ready for something a bit more controversial. Introducing our next contestant, the security rationale. Come on down.
Good afternoon, folks. Mr. Earth, Night of Moon. I'm the security rationale, and I'll be discussing why us going back to the moon will benefit all of you, humankind, back here on Earth. So let's jump into it. Firstly, building and operating a large lunar base on the moon will require massive amounts of international cooperation. It is this cooperation that will lead to increased relations back here on Earth and save our souls. Secondly, the lunar base and the moon offers an ideal point to fend off those pesky asteroids you see in space. Y'all remember the dinosaurs, don't you? Luckily for us, my intelligence officers tell me that a large enough kinetic weapon placed on the moon will have the ability to abolish these space rocks and any other extraterrestrial threats. Make no mistake, folks, they're out there. Lastly, the harsh environments of the lunar surface provide an ideal location to train first response teams for other disasters. We all know that tsunamis and hurricanes back here on Earth devastate the planet and often leave the area desolate and barren, just like space. Therefore, a lunar base would ideally create alternative methods of addressing these issues as well as tactics that save lives here on Earth. And that is why the security rationale should go to the moon. Thank you, and God bless.
Give it up for the security rationale. That's someone I would trust to make the moon great again. Let's see what our judges have to say.
Interesting arguments. Security rationale, thank you for coming. I still disagree. Space represents a strong strategic position for military purposes, and the race to occupy this position could cause an arms race similar to the one that preceded World War II. Everyone wants to make everything great again. But the thing is, it would drastically change the tone of space cooperation to one of competition or war again.
No, unlikely. Earth and my people are amid a period of unprecedented international cooperation and peace, and we have been since the end of World War II. We should take advantage of this period of international cooperation and build a lunar base together.
If you build a lunar base, states will be concerned with property rights and the assignment of property rights to individuals or nations, space actors, both in terms of territory, let me finish, and natural resources, poses a significant problem for current space policy, which will end up in a war.
No. This may be true, but we can enact policies to prevent all this, similar to Antarctica. Also similar to Antarctica, the lunar base would provide the ultimate austere environment, like security said, to train first response and health and safety teams for future human exploration missions.
Let's back up a minute. If states choose to protect their shared territories using military means, access to the lunar surface for other nations will be restricted. If you protect the place you're sitting on with a gun, no one else can sit there.
No. You can't go back to your territorial claims argument. If you're so concerned about security, a lunar base would be an excellent place from which to defend Earth, me, from asteroids and debris.
But like conflict over territory on Earth, larger states will be capable of appropriating larger areas and driving smaller actors out. It's just not fair.
You're right, but again, this is unlikely. Sure, it will be necessary to establish a culture of cooperation to realize the benefits of the lunar base. Furthermore, providing a robust legal framework will be necessary. And altogether, this is just why I agree with the security rationale.
All right, folks, we're on to our final contestant, but get ready. We've got a double whammy. It's the political and legal rationale. Come on down.
Miss Earth, Mrs. Moon, that's a real pleasure to be here. Long time no see, Moon. Remember me? I'm the political and legal rationale. Now, I know I've made quite an impression last time. After all, we first met thanks to politics. And we managed to establish the Outer Space Treaty with the peaceful use of outer space, cooperation, non-appropriation. That's amazing. Now, I would really appreciate to come again. That would be so beneficial for both of us. New technologies, but we will also create a new legal framework to be sustainable here and then back on Earth. I mean, you've probably seen it up there, war, excessive use of resources. That's not good. So that's a winning-winning process, and that's why I should go to the moon. Thank you, and please call me.
Give it up for the political and legal rationale. Folks, you find yourself in jail tonight, you know who to call. Let's go to our judges.
Thank you for coming, political rationale. Interesting arguments, but here's why I disagree. For now, no one agrees on how to legislate about lunar resource utilization. The only thing we are sure of is that Article 2 of your beloved Outer Space Treaty says that the provides for the non-appropriation of the moon and other celestial bodies. Humanity wrote that.
Yeah, this is all true, but remember that creation of a lunar base will enable new policies that can be adapted for use on Earth. For example, through sustainability regulations and use of remote polar regions.
Yeah, but settling on the lunar surface would amount to appropriation. As I said previously, if you're standing somewhere, no one else can stand there also. Considering that the moon is the common heritage of all humankind, it would be unfair that only a handful of privileged states get to go there and do whatever they want.
I'm appropriating your microphone. Appropriation sounds extreme. Besides, if people settled on the lunar surface, they would enable Earth to update its existing space policy in regards to utilization of lunar resources. And also the establishment of property rights and cooperation between states and planetary protection could be in it as well.
I really think you're overly optimistic about the capability of states to cooperate. Should I remind you that the last space treaty that dates back to 1969? Back then, protecting the lunar environments just wasn't a thing, and there's no adequate legislation to protect my lunar surface, but also to prevent the potential harm that could happen there. I completely disagree with this rationale.
All right, well, that was our final contestant, so we'll allow our judges a moment to deliberate. And while they deliberate, I've been taking some notes, and as the host of the show, I feel as though it's my duty to wrap things up a bit. Why should we go to the moon? Sky no longer the limit. My mind is in it, but I wouldn't call you a cynic if you said it might be too soon. I'm here swooning over the beauty of the earth, but we're ruining it, feeling our own duty to the planet's worth, buffooning, polluting, whale harpooning, reducing our own planet to dirt. And damn it, it hurts, and yet it's fair to assert
that we could do more here before moving on to dessert. So let's flirt with the idea before we call it irrationale. Let me explain to you our rationale. I'll say it real quick, call it rationale. Did a little review, so it's factual. It's tactical. It's got 6 parts. Economics, where the money's at. That's where we'll start. The moon's got resources. I'll show you the charts. We could add them to Earth markets if we were smart. See, there's water ice that you can modify to make rocket fuel to make a rocket fly. All of Earth markets we can fortify. We can build a whole economy in the sky. Now, I bet there's a whole lot of tech that you wouldn't expect how much going to the moon actually had to do with that. And that's the facts. Don't underestimate their impacts or your reliance. All right, now let's talk about the science. The dark side of the moon's got radio silence. A whole new set of rules we got to comply with. A new gravity that plants might just die in, and we'll only know with experimental findings. Global alliances and cooperation, only way to establish the new lunation. Songs of lunar peace are going to have to be sung. A whole new legal framework going to have to be done. All it takes is one military operation, and the moon becomes a place of war that can't be undone. But let's go back to why we're going. It seems a bit of our manifest destiny is showing. The domain of humanity, I tell you it's growing. Captain Kirk, yeah, we're out here exploring. But we just started taking our first steps. It's time to be smart and expect our own effects. I suspect now is our chance. The time is opportune. But let's do better than we did with Earth. It's time for sustainable moon.
Judges, have you reached a decision?
We agreed. We love the rap. It's great.
And, about going to the moon.
Yeah, let's go to the moon.
All right, folks, you heard it here first. Humanity's going to the moon. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Give Us Your Pitch and Maybe We'll Do It. Join us next week where we explore the various rationales for building an in-orbit manufacturing facility. Thank you, and good night.
Successful performance on the popular game show Give Us a Pitch and Maybe We'll Do It, humanity has decided to venture to settle the moon. And in doing so, they've developed a five-phase roadmap. The initial phase of any roadmap, phase 1, involves robotic surveillance, which acts as a precursor to all future exploration missions and settlement attempts on the moon. Its fundamental purpose is to prospect lunar resources and identify potential outpost sites for long-term habitats. More specifically, data associated with lunar topography, surface environment, quantity of useful volatiles, and previously unknown characteristics. This is achieved with robotic probes and lunar rovers. Here, you can see some of the activities that the rovers would be completing. Prospecting for resources, analyzing surface materials, and building the basic knowledge needed to establish a permanent settlement on the moon. These rovers are navigating around the surface using ground-based navigation systems. These rovers use generators or radioactive heating units and communicate via radio to Earth-based ground stations. In this stage, the governance and management base is completely Earth-based, and international cooperation to coordinate lunar activities and share scientific data and other relevant information is vital. Starting in 2025, the second phase, infrastructure preparation, will begin. The next step is to establish the necessary infrastructure for short-term missions to the identified site location. Construction of habitats via robotic operations and demonstration of technologies over a 10-year period. Completion of this phase would permit arrival of the first astronauts to the lunar surface for short-duration missions. In this stage, these rovers are aided by celestial-based navigation systems and use this to do small-scale collection of resources in order to begin building shelters for themselves and the humans who will eventually inhabit the moon. the governance and management of the base is still Earth-based and focused on the definition of access and management of lunar activities, as well as establishing zones of safety which ensure that the activities of one lunar actor are not interfered with by another. At the end of this stage, preliminary habitats have been prepared, and the lunar surface is ready for the beginning of Phase 3, habitat development. Projected to occur from 2035 to 2040, this is the phase that brings astronauts back to the moon for the first time since the Apollo era. Here, joint operations between robots and humans will progress habitat development via detailed infrastructure setup, machinery support systems, and hydroponics. Surface missions will be comparable in length to the Apollo mission. The astronauts will perform scientific studies which fulfill questions about the nature of the lunar environment. They will work with robots to improve the habitat for future permanent habitation. They will also be able to perform repairs on the hardware brought to the surface in previous phases. These astronauts will be able to communicate with each other using headsets in order to stay in touch while patrolling the lunar surface. The task of the rovers and astronauts will switch focus into larger scale mining operations in order to establish more widespread in-situ resource utilization, which is necessary to prepare the habitat. These mining activities include water extraction from ice, which is necessary as the habitat still has an open-loop life support system which does not support complete regeneration of resources. There will also be basic medical supplies available, which will be used by the astronauts as needed. In this stage, the governance and management of the base diversifies into local and global governance for managing emerging lunar activities and establishing appropriate safety, norms, and rights which protect astronauts, assets, and other actors. At the end of this stage, the lunar base is ready to be transitioned into an International Space Station-like facility, which supports scientific missions by professional astronauts for months at a time. Phase 4, basic operations, is likely to stretch into the 2060s as we discover more about the moon and its wonders. The concept of a basic operations phase serves to conduct science-based missions such as lunar geology analysis, radio astronomy, and mining operations. Astronauts will utilize existing infrastructure and in-situ resources to ensure a permanent human presence on the lunar surface. Ultimately, testing life support systems and long-term technology here is critical for the following phase. These astronauts will exchange crews, just like the current-day International Space Station. They will work developing power management systems and moon-based ground stations. They will traverse the surface using lunar roving vehicles in order to complete their scientific missions. The astronauts will also attempt to close the life support system. They will also have more advanced medical facilities. They will hopefully not have to use them. Governance and management in this phase is balanced between lunar governance and terrestrial governance. Therefore, it will be even more important to define management structures as the base grows. At the end of this phase, the last phase begins and stretches indefinitely into the future. Phase 5, Lunar 7, is when people first arrive to the lunar surface not in a professional context, but for life and leisure. The final phase is characterized by shifting away from conducting lunar-based missions and more towards the establishment of lunar settlement first living on the moon, and growth of economic markets unique to in situ resources. At this stage, the community is working towards becoming fully self-sustaining with the establishment of the Lunarian citizenship and culture. The habitats used in previous phases will be expanded to a full settlement. The communication networks will provide strong connections between people and rovers on the lunar surface, but also with those still on Earth using laser-based communications and cellular networks. Transportation could range from lunar railways to lunar walkways, using the lunar positioning system as a guide. Anything needed for life on the moon will be produced there, using in situ resource utilization or conserved through a fully closed life support system. The government's management in this phase will be the responsibility of the moon and its citizens, as the moon becomes its own entity and community. It will be many years until we see this kind of fully fledged community on the moon. It's hard to imagine people playing cards on the moon, babies being born, or competing to work on the lunar railway. But the plans of many lunar actors are bringing humanity in this direction. However, until that day, it is important to remember that in our quest for the moon, we are all citizens of Earth, and the moon is the common heritage of us all. Batman, and the Earth has Marvel's Avengers. This lunar settlement needs superheroes of its own. Introducing the Lunar Sustainability League. Jars, doors, and Christmas presents beware. It's our first superhero, Open Access. And his purpose is peace. Introducing Peaceful Purposes.
I'm a peaceful superhero. We want to peace against war and violence. Keep a peaceful heart. Don't hurt more.
Racists and sexists run and hide. It's diversity and opportunity.
Hello everyone, I'm Diversity and Opportunity. I care that everyone gets a chance to participate in lunar activities. No matter what their race, nationalities, or creeds are. We're all the people of Earth.
body, it's international cooperation.
The moon is the heritage of all humankind, and I want to stay true to that by fostering international cooperation. I want these big spaces, very nations, to cooperate and work with the smaller and emerging ones, and collaborate to make lunar activities a reality. So please, cooperate with me and let's sign this treaty.
Watch out, because she'll find you, and she'll teach you things you didn't know. It's education and outreach.
Hello everyone, I'm Education and Outreach. My job is to develop public knowledge and the support of sustainable world activities. Do you want to know more about space? Do you want to know more about the moon? Follow me. I will show you the mystery of space, the truth of sustainable world. I will show you new perspectives, values, and skills to foster sustainable societies. Now let's go to space. Let's go to the moon.
He fights with the trees, and if you litter, he'll break your knees. Introducing our next superhero, environmental protection.
Hello everyone, I'm environmental protection. Our fight is to protect the world. Fewer like before. Well, I will clean our rubbish for the Lord and never rest. Well, I will play forever. Keep fighting, keep clean.
Sworn to protect our legacy by the Order of Apollo, it's our next hero, Heritage Protection.
I'm Captain Heritage. I will identify and protect the moon cultural and natural heritage. Jangai, Apollo, Maria, don't fear, I'll protect you. And I will make sure all friendly states establish guidelines to protect those scientific interests as well as regular science zones. And remember, people without the knowledge of their history, culture, or origin is like a tree without roots.
His motto is safety first, safety last, and safety always. It's health and safety.
I'm Health and Safety. I exist to ensure that protocols are in place to protect the health and safety of astronauts on the lunar surface. I ensure that if a rescue is needed, it can be done between the Earth, the Moon, and everywhere in between. Thank you.
More efficient than a Toyota Prius and faster than the TGV, it's sustainable transportation.
Hello, I'm sustainable transportation. If we want to go to the moon, we should be able to go there and come back here without crashing into any meteorite object that can hurt our astronauts our spacecraft. The lunar gateway will help acting as an outpost, and the NASA CLPS program will allow different private companies to develop manuals for lunar transportation. And I will be there to keep sustainability in their mind. Bye.
Making sure all things are ordered and compatible, it's standardization.
There's a lot of people who want to go to the moon, and we need to make sure that all of their different parts will fit together. We also want to make sure that all the different people who want to access the moon have access to those standards, and those standards are not biased towards any one group of lunar actors. Standardization for the win!
Introducing our next hero, protecting all of us from the dangers of space debris, it's space debris mitigation.
Hello, I'm Space Debris Mitigation. Hello, I'm Space Debris Mitigation. Did you know that around the Earth there are 8,400 tons of space debris? I'm here to develop new technologies and to enable international cooperation in order to prevent space debris accumulation around the world.
She cleans up litter and she's never been to the bathroom. It's zero waste.
And zero waste.
sustainable energy. To build things, it's sustainable in situ resource utilization.
Hello, everyone. I am anything and everything around us is a resource. Use it effectively and being human, live a life that's ordinary. Thank you very much.
Introducing our final superhero, last but certainly not least, it's Captain Planet Earth Applications.
I'm the center of applications. I'm here to ensure cool activities on the moon effectively use here about water. All our technologies which we built for space, such as thermal blankets, camera sensors, and LEDs, are now here for terrestrial applications. Space agencies are already ensuring this transfer, not here to ensure those spin-offs and spin-ins in space.
Superheroes has powers of their own, but we will need all of them together if we are to ensure that the moon is both safe and sustainable. It's the Lunar Sustainability League. Sustainability League.
So yeah, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. We have one final thing before we leave you today. We have one last song. The song is in your playbills in front of you if you fancy joining in. But this is our final wrap up. The song is called Lunarian Rhapsody, and we're going to try and sing it together.